Welcome to customer service. Now this content that I'm going to give you comes primarily out of the Step Up and Lead book, chapter 4 out of the book, which was solely dedicated just to customer service. Now I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Frank Viscuso is my name. I'm a retired deputy chief out of New Jersey, and I spent 27 years in the industry. I also spent many years in the sales industry. I know a little bit about customer service. And I understand that some people don't like calling in the fire service. They don't like calling what we do customer service. Then don't. We'll call it community service. And it's the same exact concept of what I'm going to get across to you is how I dealt with customers and sales is not that much different from how I dealt with the community with regards to my job as a deputy fire chief or an officer or captain before that, or a firefighter even before that, because everybody's job is to connect and provide great service to the community you serve. And we're going to talk about that. See, understand this, and let me just start with this. You exist to solve problems. That's why we exist in a fire service. We solve problems. But here's the thing I want you to understand. When someone dials 911 and we show up to solve their problem, it is no longer their problem. We have chosen, by the nature of what we do, whether it's career or volunteer, we have chosen to inherit their problems as ours. Because when they dial that number, they're basically saying, I have a situation that I can no longer control, that I don't know what to do to fix, to solve this problem. I don't know how to do it. So we show up and we say, we do. We know what to do. So we'll take it from here. And we now inherit that problem as our own. I want you to wrap your brain around what I just said, because a lot of people in our industry don't get this. And myself included, when I started and I was a young firefighter, I did not understand this idea that people were calling me because they couldn't resolve the issue. And I had to be the professional. I had to be the person that came in and said, okay, I know what to do here. And that comes with training, preparation. It comes with mindset. It comes with how you look at your community. And what I was trying to do, and I continue to try to do through my books, through my seminars, through my traveling throughout the world, what I try to do is make people understand that your community is an extension of your family. It's a very difficult concept for some people to understand or to buy into. I get it. It wasn't for me. I want you to look at it this way. The organization you work for, I want you to actually put yourself in a mindset that you own the organization. And the customers that keep you in business are those people that you show up to resolve their issues. And it goes way further than that. You're going to find out as we move on throughout this presentation. One time I was teaching a class and a student came up to me and said, do you have any exercises to help people develop their leadership ability? And as I'm thinking about that, I thought, you know what, it would be great for me to bring an exercise to my class, which I do have some exercises that I do with the class, but that's for my team building class. But for leadership, I thought it'd be great to have an exercise. And I thought long and hard about it. But my answer to him is still the answer I give people today, which is you don't need an exercise for leadership. The world and your life is full of problems. They exist everywhere, whether it be your children's room that's not being cleaned up, right? Well, that's a problem. And we're parents, so we're leaders in our household. So we need to figure out how to resolve that problem. Most of the problems that you have to solve in your life you look at them like they're hard work. But most of the problems we have to solve only became problems because we didn't take care of them early enough when they were small issues. And they became now bigger issues. It's like somebody develops a bad habit, but you don't correct it for 5 years. What's the bad habit? Maybe the habit is they complain, they're lazy, they show up for work late, and they give a subpar performance. All right? That's a lot. Well, what if you don't address that habit? What happens 8 years down the line? Now, how do you fix that? And what I've seen in our industry is sometimes the people who were in charge of that individual now become in charge of organizations, and now they complain of the new person in charge of that individual. They complain to them about, well, how come you can't get this person to do X, Y, Z? And they forget for 8 years they couldn't get the person to do X, Y, Z either. So this is a systemic thing, right? And where I'm going with this is solve the problems when they're small. So leadership 101 is this: identify a problem. How do you identify a problem? Well, they're easy. They're everywhere. Open up your eyes. Look around. It could be the way somebody's talking. It could be the performance somebody's not giving. It could be a poor attitude. It could be the messy room, which could now turn into the messy fire station. Identify a problem. 2, assemble people. If you already are on a team, which all of you are, well, you don't have to assemble the team. The team's already assembled. What you need to do is you need to pull them together to develop a plan, which is number 3, on how to solve the problem, which is number 4. So identify the problem, assemble a group of people, develop a plan, then take action and solve the problem. And if you do those 4 things, that's what leaders do. If there was a 5th step, you know what the 5th step is? Repeat. Because you're going to come into other problems as well. And now I had somebody say to me, well, you know, this is hard. You can't solve every problem. I understand that. I mean, if I walk into the fire station and I see 15 problems before I even get to my locker, am I supposed to solve all 15 problems? Well, let's put it this way. If you notice them, it's like walking by a kink on a fire ground. If you notice a kink in the hose and you don't, you know, basically straighten out that hose, then yes, you just walked by a problem you should solve. So yes, technically you should solve it, but I also understand that you don't have the time, maybe the training, maybe the resources to solve every problem. So be that person that maybe brings attention to, or brings that problem to the attention of somebody that can solve it. This doesn't mean you want to be the problem finder. This is wrong, that's wrong, we need to fix that, we need to fix that, this person's doing that, this, you know, now you're just that person that they're like, oh my God, all they do is bring problems to me. Anytime you bring a problem to your supervisor, bring a potential solution with it. The things you do will make an impact and an impression on the people around you, good or bad. My son, when he was 5 years old, was walking with my wife down the supermarket aisle, saw a man wearing a hat, USS something. He was a veteran on top of his hat. My son understood what that was because he had seen his dad do what he was about to do, even though I wasn't there and didn't tell him to do it. He walked up to the man wearing the hat, reached up his hand and said, "Sir, thank you for your service," and shook the man's hand. 5 years old. Why did he do that? He did that because he saw his dad, me, do that for the first 5 years of his life. He didn't know what I was doing at first, but one day I explained it to him. We were out having dinner at an Italian restaurant. I saw a man who was a veteran, and I said, I'm going to go over and thank that man. And my boys, I had my 2 boys and my wife, and they said, why? And I explained why. Well, just like Grandpa, that man served our country. And it's because of men and women that have served our country that give us the ability to actually come to restaurants like this and go to the beach when we want to go to the beach. We have the freedom to do the things we want to do. So the least I could do is go up and say, thank you. And now that's the best I can explain it to a 4 or 5-year-old. But because he saw me do that and I gave him that brief explanation, now he does it too. And I couldn't be more proud of him because now he's 9, about to turn 10, and he still does it. So that happens at work as well. The way we treat people, our coworkers, the people we're leading, and the people out there that we're supposed to be providing great service to. Well, the way we treat them makes the impression of all the people around us. So you want to treat them with the right mindset and with the right attitude. And you can only do that if you understand why we exist. And why do we exist? To solve problems. So who are your customers? It's when I ask this question, and I can't hear you right now, but if I were to ask you this question, who are your customers? The number one answer, if we were on Family Feud, the number one answer is people who dial 911, right? People, you know, somebody whose house is on fire. That's our customer. And that's correct. But it's not just them. It's the people that own a bagel shop that you stopped in the morning on your way to work. It's the people that work at the local hardware store that you stopped in to pick up some light bulbs and some tools the other day, even when you weren't in uniform. Why? Because although their building isn't on fire right now and nobody's suffering from a medical emergency, they may need you at any given moment. If you're walking in that hardware store and you decide not to buy anything and you walk out, were you still a customer of theirs? Absolutely. Well, everybody that walks in our community is a customer of ours, whether they need us at that point or that moment are not. So everybody is a customer. Here's an idea for you. A great service in 3 simple steps. 3 simple steps. 1, respect the people that you're talking to. I don't care what race they are or color they are, what religion they are. I don't care what football team they like. I don't care what baseball team they like. I don't care about any of that stuff. Respect the person you're talking to. 2, smile when you're talking to them. And 3, try to exceed expectations. If you try to exceed their expectations, then you can provide great service. You're trying to do more than expected, right? And you can't do that if you just try to just do the bare minimum. Are they actually always right? No, they're not always right. But what I want you to do is find a way to make them feel like they are valid in the way they think, even though they may be thinking about things incorrectly, and you have to address it that way. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. In sales, there's a common method people use: feel, felt, found, to overcome objections. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but this is what I found when I started using this product. Okay, we're talking about sales. Well, in our industry, there's a little twist to that: feel, felt, why. So if somebody says, listen, thank you for putting the fire out, but why are my windows broken? Well, I know how you feel. I would have felt the same way if this was my house, but let me explain why we had to do it. The feel, felt is the important part. I know how you feel. You're validating their feelings. I would have felt the same way. You're confirming that their response is an acceptable one. But let me explain why. So you're not being confrontative like everybody is on social media right now, to where they're all looking for ways to insult people who disagree with them. That's not what we're about in the fire service. You know, we don't actually walk up to a door and say, all right, we're going to put the ladder up and rescue you, but let me just ask you real quick, are you Republican or a Democrat? No, we don't do that. So that means nothing to us. A person's in trouble. A person's having a problem. We inherit their problem as our own. We're there to solve the problem. How about difficult people? How do you deal with difficult people? Remember this: your goal with every customer is to make the relationship last. Last stands for this: listen, apologize, solve, and thank. Listen to what the person has to say. Let them vent. Let them get it off their chest. Sometimes, and I mean many times, as many as 90% of the problems that you're going to deal with difficult people or customers that are unhappy are going to immediately start to be dissolved, just because you're listening to them and showing them that their complaint is valid and you're there to try to make it better. Apologize to them. Show empathy. That's all you're doing with an apology, is putting yourself in their shoes. I'm very sorry you had that experience. Empathy. When you apologize to someone, that's not you apologizing for something you may or may not have done, because you maybe were completely unattached to the incident. Like the story I shared with you earlier at the nursing home. I was unattached to that incident, but I apologized that she had that experience with one of our members, because I am in control of or responsible for the actions of my members. And show empathy. 3, solve the problem. Mutually agree on a solution that they're happy with, and you know you're happy with, and then thank them for bringing it to you. Make a friend. And then we can move forward. Because if we can do this properly, again, listen, apologize, solve, and thank, what we're doing is we're actually creating a condition, or actually creating a relationship that can stand the test of time.